This is Sports Weekly. Hello and welcome to our 6th episode of Sports Weekly. Today, as you can tell by our hats, it's the last one before Christmas.
Yeah, Merry Christmas, everybody. Hopefully you have a great week off of school, 2 weeks off of school, and get some sleep.
Yeah, there's plenty of good sports to talk about over Christmas, especially some bowl games. So you can go back to our last episode to catch our bowl picks that are before January 1st, but now we're going to talk about all the ones January 1st and after, including the college football playoff. But let's start off with UCF and Auburn. They'll be facing off. And Jason, who do you like in that one?
Well, we know what happened last year when the non-Power 5 team got the New Year's Six Bowl with Western Michigan, and it was not pretty for the Broncos.
No.
I think it changes this year. I think UCF gets the upset on Auburn. Mackenzie Milton played really well this year, but I don't want to talk about the players. It is one guy and one guy only, Scott Frost. That guy has had such a fantastic story, fantastic season, and what better way to cap it off than a win over the SEC runner-up Auburn. So I just think this is more of a morale. Like, if I don't know who's the better team because they don't have any common opponents, any of that. So if I have to pick out of a hat, I'm rolling with UCF purely because I think that they've got momentum and just the feel-good story on their side.
I'm going to go with Auburn in this one. I think Auburn's just the better team overall on the offensive and defensive side. UCF is a great story, and they're probably a better team than Western Michigan was a year ago. But, like you said, it still wasn't pretty for the Broncos, and I think Auburn is able to pull out this one. Kerryon Johnson, especially on the offensive side, he's got 1320 rushing yards this year. He does it all for the Tigers.
Yeah, I mean, you brought up that you think UCF's better than Western Michigan. Do you think they could beat the Wisconsin team from last year?
I don't think so. I think Wisconsin was a good team last year, good team again this year. But those non-Power 5 schools, it's hard to get as good as those Power 5 schools, especially the ones in the top 10 of the rankings, like Wisconsin last year, like Auburn this year.
Yeah. I got you. All right.
Now let's move on to Notre Dame and LSU. Notre Dame in the playoff hunt for a while, but fell off toward the end of the season. Who wins this one?
I feel like whenever we do this show, I always pick against Notre Dame, and maybe it's because you pick the good games where I should pick against them, but I am undefeated, I think, when I've picked against Notre Dame, aren't I?
I don't know.
I think so. So I'm going to roll with LSU. Darius Geis, almost 1,200 rushing yards, 11 touchdowns, but it's not even about LSU. I have zero confidence in Brandon Wimbush. That's almost close to his completion percentage, which is 49. That is horrible for a Division I quarterback. 49% completion percentage. I just can't get behind Brandon Wimbush at quarterback.
You know, I can't either, but LSU's offense just not...
Darius Geis.
I mean, Notre Dame has Josh Adams.
Geis is better.
I think Notre Dame...
And better offensive. Notre Dame's got a better offensive line, but LSU's got more offensive weapons.
Yes, but I don't think either quarterback's going to win them a ball game here in this game. But I think Notre Dame's just the better team overall, and they'll want to cap off their season with a big win. They lost a few games down the stretch, and they want to get back into it.
I don't think they have any motivation to play. If that's just me, I just don't see either team being that motivated to play. LSU, I guess, never had any national championship hopes past the first few weeks. I don't know. Maybe that's why they have motivation, because they didn't think they'd be there. Notre Dame, I know they thought they'd be in the national championship, and we saw them get their hopes taken away from them. So that's why I just don't think they come out motivated either.
All right, now it's time for the college football playoff.
Georgia, Oklahoma, baby.
Yeah, first game, Georgia and Oklahoma. Who wins it, Jason?
I got to go with Georgia. I'm a big fan of Nick Chubb and Sony Michel. They combined for 2,100 rushing yards, 26 touchdowns. And I just look at it this way. Oklahoma doesn't play defense. We can both agree on that. No one in the Big 12 has seen as good of running backs as you see in Nick Chubb and Sony Michel. Yes, Oklahoma played Ohio State with J.K. Dobbins, but he is not as good as the two-man rushing attack of Chubb and Michel. I'm rolling with Georgia. Offensively, they're better just because they have played these type of defenses where I don't think Oklahoma's offense has had to face Georgia's defense. So I'm rolling with the Bulldogs because they have not had to see the type of defense or offense that Georgia has already seen in Auburn, Alabama, etc.
You know, Georgia might have the better team on the offensive and especially the defensive side, But
What else is there to hear?
Baker Mayfield
No.
is the best player in the game. He's the Heisman winner.
What's he have to win? But he already won Heisman. I mean,
Does he not want to win a national
he
championship?
won't win a national
and
championship. He's
prove
not
his
better
draft
than
stock?
Clemson, Alabama, or Georgia. They are the worst team in the college football playoff.
Well, maybe the worst team overall, but they certainly have the best player. Baker Mayfield is
Players
able.
don't win football games. Players can win basketball games. They can't win football games.
They can if they're the quarterback.
No. You don't see that very often when a quarterback can beat a solid all-around team. If it was like an average team, yeah, I mean that's why Oklahoma's won games. But you see a team like Georgia who is so good defensively, plus Chubb and Michelle, you cannot beat that with just Baker Mayfield. Don't get me wrong, Rodney Anderson's a great running back and all that. I just don't think one player can defeat a powerhouse like Georgia's been all season.
I mean, Oklahoma, their offense just too potent for me to pick against them. Baker Mayfield, absolutely amazing. But let's move on to the second game of the playoff. Alabama and Clemson playing once again. Who wins the trilogy?
I'm taking Clemson. I mean, it's no Deshaun Watson, but Kelly Bryant, right up there in the history books with him when his career ends. I think Kelly Bryant's the real deal. He'll lead him to the promised land. And that defense, I think they're a better defense than Bama. It'll probably be a low-scoring game. Would not be surprised if it's 17-13, 21-17, something like that. Good defensive battle. Clemson comes out on top.
I think Bama wins this one because Bama has the better offense. Clemson lost their three main guys a year ago, Deshaun Watson, Wayne Gallman, and Mike Williams. And now I'm not sure if Kelly Bryant is able to win a playoff game. He's a solid quarterback, but Alabama's got experience on the offensive side. They were all there last year. Jalen Hurts, Bo Scarborough, Calvin Ridley, those
But
three
Damian
guys.
Harris didn't get that much playing time last year. It was mostly Scarborough. Now Harris is the starting running back.
I mean, that's one guy versus Clemson. Their offense has not a lot of experience against these great defenses like Bama.
I mean, they played Miami. They played other teams that have been very good. I don't know.
Miami.
I'm rolling with Travis Etienne, Kelly Bryant, and the Clemson Tigers.
All right, so you have Clemson and Georgia in the national
You have Bama and
championship.
Oklahoma.
All right, who wins your national championship?
I'll say this. I think the winner of Clemson Alabama wins. I mean, because if I'm wrong on Clemson, like, I'll take Bama then. I think the winner of Clemson Alabama is the national champion.
All right, I'm going to go with Bama in mine also.
If Clemson wins, are you taking them?
I think that'll be close, but I don't see Clemson winning, though, so
So you have Alabama or Oklahoma.
yeah.
Okay, there we go.
All right, that's going to do it for our college football bowl predictions today. Next, we will move on to some March Madmen and head over to the college basketball scheme. All right, and welcome back to some March Madmen. So we did this with the NBA. We're going to move it over to college basketball too. 3 things. Jason, what are yours?
Spartan fans, we have a good month ahead. Tom Izzo Spartans won't be tested until Big Ten play resumes in January, so they should be 14-1, finishing in 2017, a good solid record going into the new year. Number 2, prove yourself, UK. We really don't know what's going on with Kentucky. They've played good, they've played bad. We're going to start to see what UK is all about with UCLA and Louisville up next on the schedule. And number 3 for the hometown people, don't sleep on the Boilermakers. There are not that many teams with the resume depth that Purdue has. Their only top 25 win is Arizona, but they've beat Louisville, Maryland, Northwestern, Butler, and Marquette. They're second in BPI. I'm liking what the Boilermakers are putting up in West Lafayette.
All right, I'm going to move over to IU for my
Classic.
first thing. Man, the Hoosiers have just been so inconsistent this year. A big win in the Crossroads Classic against Notre Dame, but then just a couple of days later losing to Fort Wayne for the second year in a row.
Matt Holber's
at
not even
home.
playing yet.
Yeah.
Think about next year when he comes out. It'll be a 3-year drought.
And the Hoosiers are just so inconsistent right now, but we'll have to see how hot they get once it's time for some Big Ten play. And for my next 2 things, I have a couple of teams that are on the rise this year. Not many people thought would come out and play some great basketball. First, Arizona State. They're number 3 in the nation right now. They've only, or actually they're still undefeated. And they've got wins over Kansas and Xavier this year.
Yeah, they beat Xavier by 16 on a neutral site and beat Kansas. Their 3-point percentage right now is through the roof.
Yeah, and they're averaging 90 points per game this year. Their offense is just so potent, and really, right now, I don't know who's stopping them for at least a while in this Big 12. We'll have to see once they play Kansas again and all that. But Arizona State, very hot right now. And my second team, Oklahoma, they're not as high as Arizona State in the rankings, only number 17. But Trae Young is averaging 29 points and 9 assists on the year, and they've got even more points per game than Arizona State. They're at 93.
Crazy.
Yeah, those two teams, we'll have to watch out for them, see if they can keep their early hot streaks going. But that's all we've got for March Madmen today. Now let's move on to Around the Association.
You said
All right, now it's time for Around the Association. We also have 3 things for this, so Jason, start it off.
Rip City is hot. The Blazers have won 3 straight games, all on the road in each of their past they've won 3 straight games all on the road, and they lead the league in defensive efficiency and opponent field goal percentage on the road. They have locked down teams, and Rip City really playing well. No one expected them to be this high of a seed. They expected maybe sliding in the 7 or 8, and now they're contending for that 4th and 5th spot. So
Yeah, we'll see if they can keep that up to go the rest of the season. I mean, a lot of good teams in the West.
yeah, Portland's playing some good basketball. On the flip side, Milwaukee, we have a problem. The Bucks have failed to make at least 10 threes in each of their past 15 games. No other team has a double-digit streak this season. In that span, they're shooting 32% from deep, worst in the league. Want to know something else? They're shooting 28% on uncontested threes. No one's on you, and you can't even hit them. So Milwaukee has got a big problem, by far the worst in the NBA.
They need Jabari Parker back to come in and
They just put him in the
knock
G
down
League,
some
so
threes,
he's rehabbing. And then number 3, not so fast, Pacer fans. And Wednesday's loss against the Thunder, Victor Oladipo missed 17 shots, tied for second most in his career. He was 1 for 7 from the floor and had 2 turnovers when Paul George was guarding him. So I know everyone's in love with Victor Oladipo. I'm just saying, pump the brakes. He's not this all-star superstar just yet.
And my first thing is also about the Pacers, but that's one game. Come on. Victor Oladipo has been amazing this season. Always shows up in the big games. 38 versus the Celtics.
Big games,
the other day.
Thunder. That's a big game. It's PG's home game.
I mean, that's not in the grand scheme of things, obviously.
That's a big game.
Big revenge game, but
That's a playoff team. That's a big game. He didn't show up. You
but
can't excuse
against
that.
the Cavs, against the Celtics.
I'm not saying he's a bad player.
There's more
Good than bad.
Yeah.
True. I just am saying we can't crown him as the second coming of LeBron or whatever. I mean, you hear
no one's saying
you're
that.
you're hearing crazy things
Oh
in
my-
Indiana. I'm just saying, chill out on the Victor Oladipo hype. He did not play well against former Pacer Paul George, and I'm just saying,
One
pump the
game.
brakes
One
on
game.
Victor.
But what I was going to say about the Pacers, though, Bojan Bogdanovic just completely threw away the game against the Celtics on Monday. He had the ball in the corner waiting to get fouled and threw it up in the air. The Celtics intercepted it. Terry Rozier went down and slammed it. So very disappointing for the Pacers, but still played a good game overall. Kyrie Irving came through in the clutch with a couple of threes also. But the Pacers still the 5 seed in the East and still doing work. All right, my second thing is going to be CP3 and the Rockets are the best team in the NBA right now. Now, I'm not saying in May. I'm not saying that they're going to win the finals, but they are the best team and the hottest team in the NBA right now. Chris Paul still undefeated when he's played this season. The Rockets are on a 14-game winning streak at the moment, and really their offense is just so potent they cannot be stopped by anyone.
Yeah, I'm not buying the Rockets just yet. Definitely a hot team right now, playing well, but I'm just not ready to say they're better than the Warriors for one reason. We have seen James Harden and Chris Paul's record in the postseason. When it comes to getting past that second round, I just don't buy it just yet.
We'll see about it come playoff time, but 25-4 at the moment. They are rolling on all cylinders. And for my third thing, I'm going to throw it back to the East. The playoff race is very tight. The difference between the 4 and the 10 seed right now is just 2.5 games. It's kind of similar out west too, but the East, I mean, the Pacers are up there. They're the 5 seed, but I mean, the Sixers are out of the playoffs right now. A lot of people think they'll be in the playoffs once Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid start working on all cylinders. We'll have to see how that plays out, but definitely going to be interesting out East.
Yeah, it should be a fun one. I'm just hoping the Sixers stay out of the playoffs.
Hater.
You're not a Sixers fan.
So, I still believe in them. Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid, that is one future to look out for. That's going to do it for our round of the association, though. Now let's go to some Friday afternoon football. All right, no more hats for some Friday afternoon football. Getting a little uncomfy on our heads. Now we can let the hair flow a little bit. But the NFL, we got a lot of teams battling for some playoff positions as we wind down the season.
Yeah, I mean, 2 weeks left and 7 spots up for grabs. It should be a fun 2 weeks. Both of our teams are out of it, though. Speaking of your team, let's get into some picks. Colts and the Ravens.
Yeah, this feels like kind of a stupid game that the Colts would actually end up winning and sacrificing their chance at the second draft pick. But, I mean, I just don't know how I can pick them right now. The Ravens, they still got a lot of motivation to try and get in the playoffs. So I'm going to roll with Baltimore.
I'm going with Baltimore. Nothing that Baltimore is doing well. It's everything that Indy is not doing well. They look bad. Their defense is horrendous, and their offense is better than we expected without Luck, but still not very good. And I just don't think they have any chance to hang with the Ravens.
All right, let's move on to the second game, Vikings and Packers. Aaron Rodgers couldn't finish off the Panthers last week to try and stay in the playoff race. They still have a sliver of a chance, but...
No, they don't. They were officially
eliminated
eliminated when the Falcons won.
Yeah, so not even sure if Rodgers will play.
He shouldn't if it was me, but
who wins this game, Jason?
I'm taking the Vikings. Keenum keeps finding ways to win. It was cool to see Bridgewater get back on the field last week when they were blowing out Cincy. The Vikings keep getting it done, and I know Wyatt Metzger, a student here, is loving it every week. And I know what? You got to start believing in the Vikings. They're legit.
Yeah, I'm also going to go with the Vikings, especially assuming Rodgers doesn't play now that the Packers can't make the playoffs. Let his collarbone heal and get ready for next season. Vikings, like you said, rolling on all cylinders right now, and they're still fighting for the number 1 seed in the NFC.
Yep.
All right, next game, the Falcons and the Saints.
I'm rolling with the Falcons. They need this win. They have this matchup and then the Panthers the next week, both teams with 10 wins. They have to get this win. I'm rolling with Matty Ice.
Man, I'm just not loving the Falcons right now. They've got some victories the last few weeks, but very lucky. The first matchup versus the Saints a couple of weeks ago, they definitely should not have won that game. But Alvin Kamara goes down. Matt Ryan throws a couple of picks, but still gets lucky. The penalty by Sean Payton, all of that amounted to a lucky Falcons victory. This one's at the Superdome. I'm rolling with the Saints.
I'm liking the Falcons. Like I said, they have to get it. Let's get it.
All right, next game. The struggling Seahawks go to Dallas to face the Cowboys.
This is definitely the game of the most disappointing teams in the NFC, maybe minus the Packers, but that's injury, so that's different. This game could have been a race for the 1 seed. You would think of coming into the year just like last week when it was the Raiders and Cowboys. Everyone thought this would be like such a good game come week 15, but now these games are just sad to watch. I'm going to go with the Seahawks. They need a morale boost. It's been a rough time in Seattle. Is it the end of the dynasty? I think so. I think they need a morale boost.
I'm going to go with the Cowboys in this one. Seahawks struggling too much for me. The locker room, like we saw after the game, all messed up, players tweeting at each other, all that crazy stuff. And the Cowboys, Zeke comes back, and I think he tears apart the Seahawks defense in a big victory. The loser of this game is probably not going to have any chance of making the playoffs, so I'm going to go with the Cowboys.
Yeah, I thought the Cowboys didn't have a chance a few weeks ago. Seahawks obviously done, I think, so I don't think either team makes the playoffs.
All right, and last one, Raiders and Eagles.
I'd love to pick my Raiders, but I think it's time to give up hope, start losing, and hopefully get a good draft pick. Nick Foles threw 4 touchdowns against the Giants. I might even take the Giants' defense over the Raiders. He's going to tear apart Oakland again.
I think this one will be actually closer than a lot of people expect. the Eagles struggled against the Giants last week and the week before against the Seahawks. Now we look at that Seahawks victory and see a little bit of problems as the Seahawks really struggled last week against the Rams. But I'm still going to take the Eagles in this one. They're still the better team. They still have a lot more to play for than the Raiders, who are basically eliminated from playoff contention.
Yeah, they are. It should be a good week in the NFL, that's for sure.
All right, we'll see how everything shakes out with that. But last but not least, we got Soarin Sports at Guerin Catholic. All right, Soarin Sports at Guerin Catholic. So last week, the boys basketball team finished 1-1 on the weekend, winning Friday versus Heritage Christian here at Guerin Catholic, and then dropped the Saturday game also at Guerin Catholic. Very close one to Lafayette Jeff, and a lot of good games coming up over Christmas break.
Yeah, we got Friday night, which is tonight at LaPel. It should be a good one tonight. It's gone back and forth the last few years. Last year it was a close one. The year before it went to overtime. So a good little rivalry between Guerin Catholic and LaPel. Should be a great one tonight. And then we got the Vincennes tournament on next Thursday and Friday. Guerin Catholic travels to Vincennes Lincoln High School, home of the Alices, where it should be a good one. And we will be on the call there, so make sure you tune in, GuerinCatholic.faithnetwork.com. You know where it's at. We will be on the call each game.
Yeah, and then a couple more games before Christmas break comes back. Friday night at Chittard, that's January 5th. And then Saturday at Fort Wayne Bishop Luers.
We will not be on the call on January 6th. It will be. We had some confliction, so I know it's a long drive, but try to make your way out to Fort Wayne to support the guys.
Yeah, and real quick for wrestling, last weekend was the Hamilton County Championships, and Corbin Lane and Jeff Danaski both got victories in that.
Yep, and the girls basketball team playing well, still looking for that first win. I think that's going to roll up Guerin Catholic Sports.
Yeah, that's all we got for you today here on our 6th episode of Sports Weekly.
Yep, Merry Christmas, everybody. Have a great break, and we will see you when school comes back in session.
Yes, we will. See you later.
This is Sports Weekly.